to start off, one thing I always admire about you, you always carry yourself with class and respect. Cream of the crop of our generation. Give us a brief intro. Tell us where you're from and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure thing. So, hey everyone, my name is Ashley. Excited to be joining you today. I am what you would consider an Atlanta native, born and raised here in the Atlanta area, a Georgia peach. Yes, if you never met one before, you can say that you finally met one. I grew up in the South Atlanta or South side of Atlanta. I'm gonna be for real. I'm from College Park, then moved to Fayetteville. But from there, I ended up going to college and just kind of staying in Georgia. I never left. But the good part is I love to travel, so I feel like I'm able to see other places based off of that. But since I have such a big family, that's why I just kind of stayed here. So that's a
Right,
little bit about me.
right.
I am a mother. How can I forget that? I'm a wife, I'm a mother. Things have changed so quickly since the pandemic. But yeah, I have a career, but I also have my own businesses. I have a podcast, I have a 360 photo booth business. And one thing about me, which I know you already know, Rook, I'm always into something, trying to make some money, right? And
Right.
so that's me. That's your girl Ashley.
For sure, for sure. That's why I recruited you because I pretty sure you can spread some knowledge and positivity to the viewers. I met you. Speaking of family, I met you through your cousin Aunt. That's my boy. We used to call ourselves Aunt and Aunt because we got the same first name. We used to go on all the tours, but we ain't gonna talk about that. Not a bad word to say about him. Through him, I met your husband, and I met you shortly after. Your husband Julian actually had one of my classes at Georgia State after we met. Very smart, business minded guy. Much respect. Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah. So I have a podcast. It's called I'm the Mama Podcast. And in all honesty, it's about motherhood. I'm talking about the ins, the outs, and everything in between of motherhood, right?
Right.
So, one thing about me is I'm probably the biggest well, let me change that. Pre-pandemic, I'm probably the biggest extrovert that you would ever meet. I can literally walk in a room, not know anybody, and then by the end probably have everybody's number and we're cool and we're gonna hang out and we're gonna cut up and have a good time.
I agree.
That was me. That's the
Right.
old me. And Brooke, that's the me that you know.
Right.
But since the pandemic, it's really allowed me to slow down and really learn myself. Like, not saying that I'm not an extrovert, but the pandemic just had me take a pause. And then, especially when becoming pregnant, I had my son, and motherhood is beautiful, but it's challenging. Like, I'm gonna be real about that. And so I procrastinated. I'm not much of a procrastinator at all. I'm usually very organized, but something just kept Ashley, you know, you have always been into media, you've always been into hosting and things like that. Go ahead and start your podcast because you're going through things and needing a place where you are comfortable with sharing your experiences. And I'm sure other mothers are the same. They're feeling the same or needing the same. And so from that, I finally built up the courage or the push because my son was about to turn a year and I still hadn't started it yet. And I'm like, no more excuses. On his birthday, I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing started. And that's what happened. I went ahead and launched on his birthday. I didn't even know what I was going to talk about 2 days before, but I made it a goal to go ahead and get started. And so now I'm on my third season and I love it. It's just a safe place for not even just mothers, parents in general, just where I'm sharing my experiences, but also wanting to hear from others of what their experiences are. Are their thoughts different from mine? And just having more of a conversation and again, a safe place to be able to vent and share and grow as our children are growing as well.
For sure. Like you said, it was an outlet. How was it really stepping out there, being vulnerable, exposing yourself? Was that nerve wracking like the first time? Like, how was it stepping out doing a podcast?
So initially, I was trying to kind of present safe. things, safe conversations and safe topics.
Right.
But then I realized that I'm not giving my all, which is the things that I really wanted to share or the things that were really bothering me, whether it be parenting,
Mm.
whether it be, the relationship. I don't care what anybody says. Most times for a first, at least for the first child, your relationship with your companion changes because it's new to the both of you. So
Right.
these are kind of topics that, in my mind, I was thinking, family's going to be tuning in for that support, right? Friends are going to be tuning in. And how much am I really going to want to expose to them about my household? But
Mm.
then I realized at the same time, there's a certain way that you can provide and surface information without it being negative, where it's still going to shed light on others. So once I realized that on it's all in how you're approaching the situation and the topics, then I felt more enlightened to be able to talk about things that me and our household were going through. The emotions of parenting, the emotions my husband went through,
Right.
getting his points of view, because it's not all about the mother, getting his points of view as the father that we used to talk about behind closed doors, that I'm sure other fathers can appreciate, that he was like, hey, this ain't right what y'all doing sometimes, ladies, stuff like that.
Right.
So it took a moment, but I'm so glad that now I'm at that point, because now I feel like my audience can appreciate that vulnerability.
Right. No doubt. No doubt. And it's a lot of work. Like I stepped out there. It was a little nerve wracking at first. You hear the feedback from people off rip. I'm like, this is my first episode. They talking about my outfit. I'm like, can you just say a good job for me? Just you know what I'm saying? But it is.
No.
There's a lot of positives, like you say. It's an outlet, and people don't know. It's like you got to do the production, you got to do the editing, you got to do the advertisement, you got to come up with the ideas. Like when you're trying to step out there, it's actually a lot of work.
Yeah, they don't see that part. They
Right.
just see the aftermath, and that's the part that kind of sucks, because the preparations that you did to even get to that point, and then the post production just to release, 20-30 minutes, and you're wanting feedback, you're wanting comments, you're wanting it to grow. And so I would say that even that's a little challenging as well, because I'm getting support from some, but I know a lot of people. So if only I could get support from every single person that I know, man,
Right, and
look.
you talk about the stuff that everybody talk about. You know what I'm saying? You talking about the content that people wanna, but it's like people don't know you until they know you. I guess that's the way it go. Um, you and Julian, y'all been together pretty much almost the whole time I knew y'all. What's the secret? How y'all keep it going? Like, what qualities y'all? Don't go too deep on here now. I'm just some surface stuff.
Yeah. So again, that vulnerable and transparent moment. I mean, it's work.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I mean, we've been together since 2011 and been married now for 4 years. And we are forever changing. The biggest thing that I would say, with the various life occurrences that have taken place, is the progress. Like now we're at a point where we are learning to communicate. And yes, I said since 2011, now we're just learning how to communicate with each other. So
Right.
that's the thing, just putting in the work. One thing that he and I have both always agreed upon is we are going to give it our all. We're going to try every single thing before we ever call it quits. And that's one thing I can definitely appreciate about him, because it's not easy. I know I'm not easy, and at times he's not easy, but at the same time, for one, us understanding why we're doing it. We love each other, we care about each other, we want the best for each other. But then in addition to that, one thing I can say is taking out the time to, if it gets to the point where you have to seek therapy or whatever, do it together, and then do it for yourself. And like I mentioned, I hate to keep bringing up the pandemic, but one thing about the pandemic that it taught me is more about myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, I was this person that was just out, having a good time, loving life. And don't get me wrong, I still love and appreciate life. But then I learned more about Ashley during that time because I had a lot of time to just sit down and reflect on life and life changes and things that happen. So I would say that as well. What's making it work for the both of us is us accepting each other's changes, but us acknowledging the things that we do and don't like about those changes. And then, even with that, you do have to understand. I'm sure he has a handful of things that he wishes that would be different about me, but knowing that the second one may come quicker than the first one, and as it continues, but seeing that progress taking place of acknowledgement of, hey, I heard you say this, this, and this. I'm working on it and
Right,
letting those actions show. I think that's what's keeping us going.
right, right. Deep, man. I see you real introspective. I was just asking for myself too, because I'm out here struggling. I mean, I got somebody, but hey, most of all, I'm working on my compromise, but it's ongoing. You also have
It's,
a
you said you're working on your compromise.
on my compromise. Don't tell the people about the old me. I know.
I look, that's it's staying right here. Won't nobody ever know. But I mean, I would say even that though, like just taking out the time to learn why you do certain things, not you specifically, but in general. Like there's some things that I, you know, could get triggered about pretty quickly, but then I had to dig down deep and realize like that actually didn't start with me, but it's a part of me because that's all I've ever, seen or, family wise or whatever. Like there's so many family ties into why and how we do certain things. And so when you bring two different people together and they have different life experiences, you have to find a way to make it mesh. And so if compromise is one, first thing you're addressing it and then figuring out how you're going to change it.
Right. Yeah, I am a
I'm
counselor.
not going to get on you though.
Right. I'm a counselor, so I know those stunts though. You got a special relationship with your dad too. Just I've been around you all together, and it's just I don't know. That's what I aspire to with my daughter. Just what does that mean to you? Tell us about it. Your relationship with your dad.
Yeah. I am the only child and obviously I'm a lady. And so one thing that I've recognized, and I have a son. So it seems like the daddy daughter relationship and then the mother son relationship, it's a bond. Like, yes, I'm very close with both of my parents. Don't get me wrong. They're both my best friends. But I will say the fact of being able to, and my parents are still together, just watching, the leadership that my dad took with making sure that our household was always taken care of. He eventually retired early from his career and decided to go the route of entrepreneurial. And again, still watching him, making sure that they're never skipping a meal, that my mom is good, they're still being able to enjoy life. And not only that, it's certain things that my dad used to do and he still does. Actually, I'm not even gonna say used to. My dad still finds it uh, important for us to have daddy daughter dates,
Mm-hmm.
like to this day, where it's
Wow.
just me and him having time, him checking in, see how I'm doing, us being able to just have that one-on-one time together. The time that my dad invest in me, business wise, career wise. Like my parents are my biggest cheerleaders. I mean, obviously my husband is now, but before they came in the picture, like don't have a fundraiser coming because look, let me tell you, he about to take it all to his job and it's all about to get sold. But yeah, I would say our relationship is very, very important to me because I know a lot of my friends that don't have that kind of relationship. And even he's tried to provide them that same kind of daddy type of atmosphere. And I know it's still different because it's not their actual dad, but just the fact of him being there, being present for any and everything that I did, couldn't ask for anything better.
Right, right. And the friends, the husband, the father, the mother, the circle I know, because I know the circle with aunt, your husband, the whole list of people over there, that specific circle. It just seemed like you real good network and circle of people around you. What's the importance of a good support system? Can you tell the young people if they need to cut somebody off for keeping the good people around? What's the importance of that?
Yeah. You hit it nail on. So yeah, my support system, I mean, hey, I couldn't ask for a better one, and it extends further than the arms can reach.
Mm,
But yes, it's very important that you have a network, that you have a circle of friends, that you have a support system. And to me, that's for mental, that's for spiritual, that's for physical, and even emotional. You could have a different circle for each and every one of those. It doesn't have to be the same person. And that's one thing I'm realizing when it comes to relationships with friends as well. There's, I don't have to have one friend for everything. You
right.
know, there may be that one friend that I can come to emotionally for everything, but then I don't really come to them for networking, you know? And that's okay. But just finding those group of people, and it doesn't have to be a big group at all. It just has to be ones that you can trust and that you can rely on. And I will say, if you ever encounter anyone that you don't feel, well, let me change that. Don't go off of your feelings that you know isn't shouldn't be a part of your circle. Then do what you got to do and cut them off. I mean, and you don't have to have any hate towards them. You don't have to be bickering back and forth. It can still be good love, but you just love them from afar. Never, try to, do anybody wrong or anything like that. But sometimes your circles change as well. I feel like the older that I get, the people that I rocked with in high school, there are still some that are still a part of my circle, but then there's some that are not. There's some that we are just social media companions where we're just chatting it up on social media, and that's okay. But with the change that you're trying to do, whether it be growing mentally, spiritually, physically, or emotionally, if your friends aren't moving with you, if your family's not moving with you, then just have them watch you from afar and still love them from afar.
Right, right. Recently, after the pandemic, I don't know. I just felt a shift in general, but it was cutting off season for me, and I think that's so true what you spoke because the times I felt like maybe I should have stopped dealing with these people, maybe I should have stopped dealing, and I kept doing it, and it came about to bite me later, or we just stopped dealing with each other anyway. But lesson learned.
Yep.
Balance because we talked about the business, the parenting, work, podcast, social, leisure. You need some personal time. How do you balance everything? Because I'm in the same boat now. I just want to hear it from you so I know what to tell the people.
Hey, hey, I'm still figuring that out, right? I don't. I'm still trying to juggle and dropping things here and there. But I will say one major thing about me is I'm very organized, and so when it comes to all of the things that I am involved in, I try to allot time for each. And I actually put it on my calendar.
Right,
So, certain things when it comes to, this needs to be done, or this business venture, this part for my business needs to take place. It's on my calendar just to make sure that I remember what needs to take place. But I would say, balance is hard. It's something that, they say people can't multitask. And I would agree to that to a certain extent. But I feel that, again, if you make time, if you actually schedule time, which I know people are probably like, why would I have to schedule time to spend with my companion? Because if you don't, the whole week is going to be gone and you're going to realize that you didn't do that. Or if you know that you want to do something with a friend, schedule it. Me and my friend, literally, me and my two friends, we're meeting in March. And guess what? We already made the reservation. That would be my biggest advice, is to plan it out and to actually concretely put it on your schedule so that you don't forget and you make it happen.
right. I don't know how people who trying to elevate, because you have so much going on when you're trying to elevate. It's just easy to write stuff down and try to remember everything. Because I got this, and sometimes I do slip a little bit. But if you just to see my list, my login list, my to do,
Mm,
people would be like, you know what I'm saying? Because I know the average person, they don't operate like that.
they don't.
Um,
Look, they try to remember it all here, and it's not gonna work.
it's
It's
not.
not gonna work.
So mainly with that, I just try to get some play, make sure it's not all work, and make sure I get a little bit of self care. Sometimes I have to sneak off from the kids if I know I got a quick
Mm,
hour, Whatever I gotta do, you gotta make sure you got balance. Because if you ain't taking care of yourself, how you gonna take care of somebody else?
Brooke, you better say that. Look, I literally have just, I would say, the end of last year, have just started taking out time for myself. But then that first time, I think was like in October of 2022. And I was like, oh my goodness, this actually feels really good. So now what I'm trying to make sure of is once a month. And I know some mama's gonna be like, girl, yes, once a month, because I have a lot of other things going on. If I can take a day out to myself, whether it's getting my hair done, whether it's getting my nails done, whether it's going out to brunch with my girls, whether it's just me sitting in the room by myself, getting some business plans together, but just having some Ashley time only. And so you said that because I cannot fully be the best wife, the best mother, the best child, the best friend that I can be if I'm not showing up for myself. So you definitely said that.
Real stuff, real stuff. The community. We got people doing great things, but like we keep bringing up the pandemic, but I just feel like that's a time where the elevating kept elevating, and people who on the lower vibrations they was going deeper down. What's something in the community that you just think we can focus on, or just try to push and fix, just to get all
Well,
of the same page?
there's not just one. There's a lot of things that we can do. But one of them that I have even been trying to kind of talk with close, intimate family about is just trying to act out of kindness a little bit more. I feel like if we can try to turn a situation, I'll use this as an example.
Mm,
If someone comes in your lane, instead of trying to catch up with them to look at them like they crazy, instead of doing that, think about it. You don't know what that person is going through.
oh my God.
They could have just lost a family member. They could have just dealt with something internally for their household, lost their house. Um, they could have lost their job. They could be sleep deprived. It's so many things that they could be going through, but all you care about is why you almost come in my lane.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it about you? So instead of pulling up to them, looking at them like they're crazy, maybe pull up and make sure they're okay. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I don't expect you to jump into the car and flag them down, but if they are falling asleep, honk your horn to make sure that they're staying up.
Right.
So I feel like if we do certain things, doing acts of kindness, if we could do that as a society, that will be an amazing step to a life-changing world itself. But I guess you could say it can start with us and hopefully it'll spread. But
Yeah,
I
and
would love to see it, but I think it's a hard ask.
it's a tough task, and I just would like to see the hating slow down. When people step outside of their box or try something new, you got people trying to pull them back or just throw little. Somebody come up, it's like you said, you don't know what that person went through to get there, but it's always like people want, but they don't want to put the work in, or they just assume because they're around you that they know everything you're about. So I feel like if everybody just appreciate where everybody else at and focus in your lane,
Yep.
then you'll get where you need to be. But it don't
Yep.
work,
Because you're
fortunately.
not perfect. Look,
All
if
right.
you take a moment and look actually at yourself, none of us are perfect. All of us have our flaws and our issues that we can try to work on ourselves.
A little insecurity
But yeah,
there.
it will be challenging, but it would be great if everyone could. And you said a key thing that I think is important too when someone tries to kind of keep you in your how they remember you and thinking that you can't change. And it's like everybody can change. Don't put me in this box
Mm-hmm.
as if this is how I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And again, that will be a person I say, if you can't see me any differently, then I'm going to love you from afar.
For sure. All right. Any final thoughts for the youth, or words of wisdom and advice just for the youth?
Yeah, I mean, I would say y'all are up. Y'all are up now. You don't have to wait until you get in your 20s, 30s, 40s, you know. You're up now. So, I would say take advantage of every single waking moment that you have, which is another opportunity, and see what you can do differently. See how you can be you can make a change, whether it be for your community, whether it be for the world. You're our next generation, and so let's make it happen. Find out how you can make things better, and don't let up off the gas because we're rooting for you.
Right, for sure, for sure. Appreciate you coming on. Let's all stay connected. You know, the pandemic had everybody disconnected. Let's get that
Yes,
vibration back going. We'll probably do some more work together in the future. Appreciate
absolutely. Look,
every
I'm gonna get you on my podcast.
let me do an interview. But everybody keep elevating. Y'all have a good one.
Take care.
All right.